Hey there, friends and enemies. Joper here again, and today I've got a preview of Arcadian Atlas, a brand new tactical RPG from developers Twin Otter Studios. Thank you so much to Serenity Forge for the game key. I love this game first and foremost because of the depth. It seems like a game that is simple at first glance, but then when you really dive deep into it, there's so much more going on that you might not realize. From the story, from the gameplay, the classes, the customization, all of that is a lot deeper than you would think when first looking at the game. So I very much enjoy that. But right off the bat, you see the visuals are heavily inspired by games like Tactics Ogre, Final Fantasy Tactics, and those other old school tactical RPGs. And it does feel a little bit of nostalgia like with those visuals, the 2D animations, all that kind of stuff. Even the abilities that you use feel very familiar, even though they have their own twists on what we've seen in the past. The music is very nice. It gives a nice ambiance with a jazz-inspired soundtrack, and I do really enjoy that. It really gets me kind of in the mood for the game when I'm playing it, and I just kind of vibe out, which is very nice. I do enjoy that quite a bit. As far as the story goes, there's a lot going on. I do think there are a lot of twists and turns that you might not see coming. It's almost a darker tale, but there's also some lighthearted aspects that I very much enjoy. For example, this is a minor spoiler for early on in the game. You're going to obtain a character for your squad called Poncho, the walking raccoon, and he might be my favorite character in the entire game. I absolutely love him, and he is a must-use ranger in the squad for sure. But where this game really shines is going to be in the customization and the combat. So not only from the tiles that you're battling on, all the different levels that you have. There's over 70 main mission levels in the game where you have to have different terrain, different appearance of the location, all that kind of good stuff. And you're really going to have to plan around not only how the terrain impacts your teams, but how the opponent teams are set up. And so you really have to try to counter them as much as possible. So that's the first kind of tactical aspect of it, where you're really game planning around what enemy units are doing, how they're set up, how the terrain is looking, and all that stuff. All that you would expect from a tactical RPG, but some of them, it makes the height and the elevation and all that stuff somewhat irrelevant because the bonuses aren't big enough, or there's not as much of a change in that. So this game really leans into that aspect. So I do very much enjoy that because you have to kind of plan around how the opponent is set up and also what the terrain is looking like. But then you jump into the classes of the game, and that's really where this one starts to shine, in my personal opinion. We've got 4 basic skill trees. We've got the Cavalier, which is your frontline melee unit. You've got the Warmancer, which is your ranged magic damage dealer. A Ranger, which is a either ranged unit like bows and arrows, or it can also be a frontline kind of sneaky stealth character. And then finally you have the apothecary, who's the healer, but also a mad scientist. So all of these, you would think it's only 4 classes, so how deep can it get? You'd be very much surprised, because of those 4 classes, you have multiple skill trees for each one of them. Cavalier has 2, Warmancer has 3, Ranger has 2, Apothecary has 2. And of those, you not only have different skills to pick, but also some skills that work across both sides. So for example, with the Cavalier, you can have your one-handed and shield user, and then a two-handed sword user, and then either one of those plays very different from each other. And then within them, you have some skills that will cross over between the two, and some skills that will really benefit one or the other. So I do like that customization to make it feel like my Cavalier is not going to play the same as somebody else's Cavalier. Especially when you get to like the Warmancer, you can have fire, ice, or lightning magic. You've got the Ranger, who can use crossbows or bows. You've got the Apothecary, who can focus on healing, or you can have an attack-based damage type Apothecary, who's going to do a lot of poison damage and the like, which I very much enjoy. Now, after you've leveled up with your characters, you're actually going to have additional skill trees that you can choose from as you get promoted. So once you do your promotion, you can have another skill tree to choose from that's going to add different abilities. For the Cavalier, you have the Inquisitor. This is going to be like a paladin type, turning enemies undead and then crippling them with holy attacks. or you also have Ronins who can use trances and different abilities in order to sacrifice control for huge bonuses on the battlefield. And the Ronin is going to do heavy damage as well, so definitely keep that in mind. But that little customization, not only do you have the Inquisitor or the Ronin, but even among those two classes, you're also going to have additional skill trees as well. So it's not as simple as just picking an Inquisitor and, okay, this is how my Inquisitor is going to play. No, you're going to have multiple Inquisitors that can play very different playstyles. So it almost benefits you to have multiples of different classes at times in order to take advantage of each different skill set. Same thing with the Ronin and the like. The Warmancer, you can split off into a Sorcerer, which is kind of like chaos magic. And then we've got druids who can channel powerful natural forces and lay deadly magic traps. Moving on down, we have the ranger. This is one I love because this is where Poncho lies. And then you can make them a hunter to use traps and dive bomb unsuspecting troops with their animal companion. Again, walking raccoon with an animal companion is actually hilarious. And then finally, we've got the Reaver, who can dispatch foes with well-placed stab and then disappear in the cloud of smoke. So think like an assassin-type class, and I very much enjoy that one as well. The Apothecary can split off into monks who are melee-based and can also heal or harm. And then finally, shamans who can manipulate the forces of life and death or sacrifice their allies, which is kind of hilarious, but also very, very cool. So moving on down, I do very much, like I said, I do enjoy that customization quite a bit. I think is really where the gameplay shines. You're going to have to select certain skills in certain slots as well to really customize that character, make it your own. And then also you'll get obviously your traditional weapons and armor upgrades over the course of time that are really just going to add some stat bonuses in general. So the story, touching on that a bit, is pretty deep. I do think there's a lot going on with the story that is going to be a little confusing for people at first glance, but once you really dive into it, it kind of all streamlines over the course of time. So definitely keep that in mind. Don't get discouraged if you think that a lot is being thrown at you. It almost felt like a tactical RPG version of Game of Thrones at first glance, with everything happening all at once. And then finally everything starts to come together and you really get a feel for what's going on. And then, yeah, overall, I'm very excited about this game. I think it's one that any tactical RPG fan would be encouraged to check out because there is potential for it to be a favorite of yours. I do think there's not enough of these tactical RPGs that really stand out in a way that has me encouraged for the future of the genre, and this is definitely one of them. I would highly encourage you to check Arcadian Atlas out. Once again, I did get a game key for this, but I would have played it anyway. It's a game that I've already been looking forward to since I found out about it, so definitely go check it out. I hope you have a good one. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out tremendously. It shows that you want to see more content like Arcadian Atlas and other tactical RPGs on the channel, so I very much appreciate that. My name is Jopa. I hope you have a good one. I'll catch you all later.